Hey, bonjour classe de français 2. Comment ça va? Let's do some more passé composé. On y va? Super bien, classe. Bienvenue en classe. Last week, we were working on the passé composé, the past tense, how to talk about things that you did yesterday, or last weekend, or even a year ago. Anything that happens in the past is the passé composé. Do you remember how the passé composé starts en français? It always starts with a helping verb, and the helping verb that we know right now is the helping verb avoir. So let's do some practice with our passé composé. Il a rangé sa chambre. There's the conjugation of avoir, and then here is the past participle with the accent aigu. Let's try the verb finir, and notice that this one is negative. Tu n'as pas fini le travail. How did we make this one negative? We put the ne pas around the conjugation of avoir. Tu n'as pas fini. Fini is the past participle of an IR verb like finir. The next one is affirmative. Easy peasy. Vous avez joué. Accent aigu. Très bien. How about this next one? Oui, j'ai fini mes devoirs. J'ai fini. This one's negative. What are we going to do for rendre visite when the subject is nous? Nous n'avons pas rendu visite. Remember that past participle form of rendre and other RE verbs like vendre, attendre, that becomes a U. Répondre. Here's another RE verb. Non, il n'a pas répondu au prof. Il n'a pas répondu au prof? Pourquoi pas? Avoir conjugated, répondu. Nager. Oui, ils ont nagé with an accent aigu. Manger. Non, je n'ai pas mangé au restaurant. Manger with an accent aigu. And the ne pas goes around avoir. Vendre. Non, tu n'as pas vendu ta maison. And finally, réussir. Oui, vous avez réussi à l'examen de français 2. Super bien. Good review of your passé composé. Avoir conjugated, past participles. We're on a roll. Today we're going to learn some new verbs, some new past participles. Shall we take a look? Scrolling past our video scene to lesson 7, page 123. Class, these are irregular past participles, les participes passés irréguliers. Let's take a look at avoir. Now, avoir we know and love. We know it in the present tense. The past tense of avoir is a teeny tiny little word, and it's pronounced like this, eu. Take a look at this conjugation. J'ai eu, tu as eu, il a eu, nous avons eu, vous avez eu, ils ont eu. If you say I have something, like do you have a pet? I have a cat. J'ai un chat. But when I was little, I had a different cat. I had that cat in the past. I would say, j'ai eu un chat. See the difference? Maintenant, right now, j'ai un chat. I have. But in the past, j'ai eu un chat. I had. Vous voyez la différence? Très bien. Let's talk about être. Right now, I am. Je suis. But yesterday, I was. J'ai été. You were. Tu as été. Il a été. Nous avons été. Vous avez été. Ils ont été. Check out that past participle for être. Tu, accent aigu. Été. It also looks like the word for summer, if that helps you to remember it. So if you want to talk about where you were, for example, now you know how. J'ai été à la maison. I was at home. J'ai été chez ma grand-mère. I was at my grandma's house, etc. Here's a couple more verbs for you. The verb faire, a super useful verb. We've been wanting to use this, and now we finally can in the passé composé. To say I did something or I made something, use the verb faire like this. J'ai fait. Tu as fait. Il a fait. Nous avons fait. Vous avez fait. Ils ont fait. Notice it's the same thing we were doing last week, conjugating avoir and then the past participle. But the past participle of faire doesn't do what you expect it to do. It's not a regular RE verb. It has its own past tense. F-A-I-T, fait. So to say, I went for a walk. J'ai fait une promenade. I did my homework. J'ai fait mes devoirs. Now we get to a few other verbs that maybe you haven't seen before, but they're fairly useful. For example, I put something, like I put the paper in my folder, or I put my coat on to go outside because il fait froid. That's the verb mettre. A verb that's very similar to mettre, I say it's mettre gone pro, is promettre. And if you look at the past tense of promettre, what word does it look like in English? Promise. Mettre is to put something on. Promettre is to promise. And here's how they are conjugated in the passé composé. J'ai mis, j'ai promis. Do you see how they're the same? The only difference is that with promettre, you add this little prefix, pro. Tu as mis, tu as promis. Il a mis, il a promis. Nous avons mis, nous avons promis. Vous avez mis, vous avez promis. Et ils ont mis, ils ont promis. They promised, ils ont promis d'être à l'heure. They promised to be on time. Or, I put on my coat because it was cold. J'ai mis mon manteau parce qu'il faisait froid. Voilà. Here are just a few more. We have another double, un double. Prendre becomes pris, and comprendre becomes compris au passé composé. And I know, prendre is a perfectly good RE verb. Why don't we just say prendu? No, it's not prendu. Prendre becomes pris. I know, take my word for it, class. It's a very common mistake. I hope you don't make it because we're going to learn this really well. So if you want to say, I took something, I took the bus, or I had something to eat or drink, j'ai pris le petit déjeuner, ou j'ai pris un sandwich au déjeuner, or j'ai pris le bus, oui? Here it is. J'ai pris, tu as pris, il a pris, nous avons pris, vous avez pris, ils ont pris. And then compris, same thing. Comprendre is to understand. So if you say, ah, j'ai compris, that means I understood. Will you be able to say that at the end of this video? Oui, madame, j'ai compris. Let's look at one more special verb that is an irregular verb in the passé composé, and that's the verb voir. Super helpful to be able to talk about things you saw while you were doing something over the weekend. The past participle of voir is vu. Does that remind you of any other irregular past participle we've learned? How about the verb avoir? Do you remember the past participle for avoir? Eu. And now we have voir, vu. J'ai vu. Tu as vu. Il a vu. Nous avons vu. Vous avez vu. Ils ont vu. J'ai vu une vache à la campagne. I saw a cow in the country. J'ai vu ton ami. I saw your friend. Etc., etc. Super bien, class. Those are your irregular verbs in the passé composé. Shall we practice a little bit? Let's. Les élèves. Now we're still starting with avoir like we've always done before, right? Les élèves ont mis les portables dans leur sac. Oh, my picture's kind of blocking the way. Let me go all the way over here. Now we can see everything. Philippe a pris des photos avec son nouveau portable. Les touristes ont pris un taxi pour aller au musée. J'ai promis d'être sérieux et de travailler plus. Quand il pleuvait, nous avons mis un imperméable. Et j'ai compris la leçon. I understood. One more page for you all to work on independently. Let's take a look. Some familiar phrases in here. We already know how to say I do the dishes, but now we have I did the dishes. Put the verb faire in the passé composé. He was in class. That's the verb être in the passé composé. We were sick. They had a dog. You saw a good movie. That's the verb voir. I did not have a pencil. Make this one negative, and it got a little bit cut off here in my video, so that's the verb avoir. Vous voyez? They did not see the car. That's just the verb voir. And finally, she was not at school. Remember, these are negative down here at the bottom. Être is the verb you're going to use in the passé composé. Shall we do the first one together? I did the dishes. J'ai. Always start with avoir. What's the past participle of faire? J'ai fait la vaisselle. Bravo, class! This is your opportunity now to practice. So, pause the video so that you can see what all of these sentences are, and take a few moments to write them down yourself and see how you do. Merci beaucoup, class. I will see you next time when we talk about this, correct our answers, and have more fun with the passé composé. Can hardly wait. Merci. Pause the video. Get this done. Au travail. Allez. Allez. Merci.